How y'all doing today? My name's Ayin, and today's topic of discussion is going to be, what are my emotional triggers? What are my emotional triggers? First, let's explain what a trigger is. A trigger is something that causes you to react, causes you to think about something, maybe good or bad. So when I think of an emotional trigger, does it trigger me emotionally to get angry? Does it trigger me emotionally to break down and start crying? Does it trigger me to just basically black out, not know what happened? What is my emotional trigger? When you're able to identify your emotional triggers, then the better you're in a better position to be able to control on what sets those triggers off. Think about it with the gun, the trigger. We know what the purpose is once you pull the trigger on a gun. But since we know the devastation that can occur behind pulling the trigger on a gun, do not most guns have safeties? Or do not some guns have safeties? Are there not, I'm thinking about your gun case, your pouch that you're carrying on, your holster. Do not some gun holsters have protective measures to keep you from accidentally pulling that trigger? Since you know what the weapon is capable of, and you know the reason why you're carrying it, you know the dangers that's involved, but you don't want to just pull that off of nothing. So I'm going to take the steps to protect this trigger until it's ready to be used, if ever. If I don't ever have to use it, then fine. Are there not safes that you put, gun safes that you put your guns in? Right? I'm just thinking about this from the standpoint of talking about how you protect the trigger. And it's the same thing with yourself. You know what triggers you to react in certain situations. You know when people push your buttons, what sends you off on the deep end. Would you not want to avoid going off on the deep end? If you're around people that you're always, that finger's almost on the trigger, I'm ready to explode, do you not think maybe it's time to pick some new people to hang around? I shouldn't always have my hand on my hip, ready to pull the trigger, ready to take out the gun and do what I need to do with it. I shouldn't. And you shouldn't be like that either with your emotional triggers. You should be able to protect, you should want to be able to protect those triggers, to keep from going down that rabbit hole in those situations. Food for thought. Food for thought. Another thing too, the last point that I'm going to leave this off on, when you're thinking about emotional triggers, there's no need in letting people know what your triggers are. If you have a concealed carry, which is carrying a gun, and it's concealed, it's a purpose, it's a reason why you want it concealed. Do you need everybody to know that you're carrying a gun? In some situations, it could lead to you're carrying a gun, maybe a situation is getting ready to go down. Let me take that person out because they're a threat. Think about it. It's the same thing with emotional triggers. Just wanted to give you something to chew on thinking about, on not letting the situation be, oh, woe with me, and playing the other sympathies up on things, because they can become triggers or trigger topics that lead you places that you don't want to go. Anything can be that way. People can play you up off of your emotions with certain things. So recognize what your emotional triggers are. Know how to operate within the parameters to secure those triggers, so you can overall just have healthy interactions with yourself, with the people that you're involved with. Okay, that's all I'm saying for today's video. I'm going to leave a link in the description box for a book that I've written. Kilimanjaro is the Arithmetic of Family Communication. I'll leave a link in the description box. You can get it on Amazon in paperback or an ebook copy. Until next time, stay encouraged, avoid being discouraged. My name's Ayin, and you have a good one.